get these guys off on the road. 2 Corinthians chapter 10. Look at verse 1. 2 Corinthians chapter 10 and verse 1. It said, I, Paul, myself, entreat you by the meekness and gentleness of Christ, I who am humble when face to face with you, but bold towards you when I am away. I beg of you, when I am present, I may not have to show boldness with such confidence as I count on showing against some who suspect of walking according to the flesh. Verse 3 is where we want to start. For though we walk in the flesh, we're not waging war according to the flesh. For the weapons of our warfare are not of the flesh, but have divine power to destroy strongholds. We destroy arguments and every lofty opinion raised against the knowledge of God, and take every thought into captivity to Christ, being ready to punish every disobedience when your obedience is complete. The world has a certain standard, if you will, and they have a certain way that they deal with stuff. And don't look at Christian counselors and people who don't know Christ and say because you don't know Christ, you're dealing with things in a certain way, and that's dumb, because they don't know any different. You know, a blind man, it'd be great if we could see a blind man healed, but until that blind man is healed, he's got to walk in a certain way. He's got to make things happen, right? He's got to eat. He's got to get around. He's got to do his stuff. Well, the world doesn't know any different because they don't know Christ. There's no sense of judging them for something they don't know. The bottom line is the fact that the way that the world wages war is found in Ephesians chapter 6. Ephesians chapter 6 and verse 10. Those are the two scriptures I want you to turn to, the first one and this one. It says in chapter 6 and verse 10, finally be strong in the Lord and the strength of his might, put on the whole armor of God, that you may be able to stand against the schemes of the devil. How many have ever felt like the devil's maybe had his way with you sometime and affected your life? He's affected it. I don't mean that you're possessed and, vomiting out stuff every Saturday night, okay? But he's affected. How many feel that he's affected you sometime, okay? It's true. Then he said, put on the whole armor of God that you may be able to stand against the schemes of the devil, for we do not wrestle against flesh and blood. Now here's the problem. When you came up front last night and you talked and you said, I'd like to be free from struggling with sexual sin. When you did that, a lot of people struggle with sexual sin. As they say, whatever floats your boat, I know there are a lot of people who will try a lot of different things to get through and get peace and get success and get delivered. I'm not saying that anyone is better than another in terms of their motivation. But don't we want to be successful in this, right? Here's the deal. If you're going to be successful, you got to understand this. A lot of the stuff that you wrestle with when it comes to sin, it might not be sexual. Maybe you're a thief. Maybe you're a liar. Maybe you can't stop lying. You lie all the time. Just lie, lie, lie. You'd give Jim Carrey a run for his money in that particular movie. That's just, you can't do anything about it, right? There's all sorts of other sins, if you will. There are things that grab hold of us that won't let go. And you're saying to yourself, I don't know how to deal with these things. I can tell you this, that if the root of it is sin, you at least have to start with Christ. Not only so he'll forgive you, but that so you wrestle and you battle with things that will make a difference in your life. And the Bible says, Paul said to the church in Ephesus, that we don't wrestle against flesh and blood. So think about this. That person that you're upset with that you think is making your life a living hell is probably not the issue. I'm not saying always, but probably you should consider another focus. It's probably not the issue. He said we don't wrestle against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers and rulers, against the authorities, against cosmic powers over this present darkness, against spiritual forces of evil in heavenly places. And then he goes on to talk about taking up the whole armor of God. That's how we battle. There is a reality to the devil, and some of us, some of you, some of the churches that you're a part of have cast off anything to do with the devil because there's a group of people that got really extreme about him. They see him everywhere. He is in every service. They cast him out as soon as they come in because they'll say he's the first one to church. He's really faithful. So they cast the devil out of the church. And when the guitar's not working, they cast the devil out of the guitar. And when they go to KFC, if they don't get good chicken, they cast the devil out of the deep fryer. Seriously, how many know that it gets a little crazy after a while? I don't really think, he's not omnipresent according to the Word, so he's probably not everywhere you're suggesting he is. And let me just say, I've never found a scripture that says he's under your bed. He's just not there. Okay? So some of you have grown up with that in your life. He ain't there. He's gone. But he is real. And we have to be aware of that and balance that out. When he comes and he affects our lives, we have to deal with it righteously as he would have us to deal. Here's the situation. I'm making this really, really short and concrete. The battle that you fight starts where? Where? No. In your mind. That thing just above your neck. Listen, that's where the battle is. Because the Bible tells us if we don't think it, it won't become a sin. So if I can stop the thought in the beginning, I don't have to worry about it producing sin in my life. Let's go back to last night. Let's say you struggle with pornography, and that was the reason you came to the front. If you don't think about pornography, if you don't think I'd like to find this website or this book or that magazine or I'd like to see this show, if the thought doesn't come into your mind, it'll never happen, generally speaking. You actually need thoughts for even the things that you do unconsciously. You can't walk without thinking about walking, but you're just so used to it, you no longer have to worry about making it happen. It just happens naturally. Some of you eat voraciously. You don't even think about it. Dan Moore was sitting in line on the night of the wraps, I don't know what they were, and I looked and I thought he was serving us. He must be serving us. And no, he wasn't serving us. He was serving himself. And he was serving himself a lot. In fact, we got a bill today from the school that said, here's what everybody else owes us. Here's a second page and a third and a fourth of what we needed to feed Dan Moore. So that comes off your wage. We'll talk about it later. But you don't even think about those kind of things. They're unconscious. But what you don't understand, maybe you don't realize it because it is unconscious. It starts here. Here's the deal. Really elementary. And there's much more to this. If you don't think it, if you can control what goes on up here, there's a whole pile of stuff in your life that won't affect you. Now the problem is that we just let thoughts come and go in our mind freely. Turn back to 2 Corinthians chapter 10. We just let them happen. We don't take them, we don't control them, we don't think about them. But this is what Paul said to the church in Corinth that you should do. He said, though we walk in the flesh, we don't wage war against, we're not waging war according to the flesh, and that's where I took you over to Ephesians. Then it said, for the weapons of our warfare are not of the flesh, but have divine power to destroy strongholds. We destroy arguments and every lofty opinion raising itself against the knowledge of God. We take every thought captive to obey Christ, being ready to punish every disobedience when your obedience is complete. So what's a stronghold? A stronghold is where the enemy, by your permission, has had regular opportunity to make a place of existence in your life. And so if you regularly view pornography, I can tell you that there's a good chance that the reason it's so hard to get that out of your life is because it's dug itself into the side of a cliff of your heart, if you will, or your mind, and it's just really hard to get it out. It is. It doesn't come out just like that because I just wake up this morning, it's a great morning, it's not raining anymore, I'm just not going to view pornography today. How many know if it was that easy, I wouldn't even have to preach to you? Huh? It'd be simple. How many know that if you struggle with eating, and there's a problem with certain types of food, and you woke up Tuesday morning and said, wow, this is a great day. What will I do today? I just don't think I'm going to eat as much as I've ever ate in my entire life. And in 2 months, you're just Slim Jim. How many know it's not that easy? Shoot, I can tell you it's not that easy. And if that's not obvious, then we need to turn some more lights on. It's not that simple. If you could think yourself out of this, if you could just make a couple of changes. I'm not saying that's for everything in your life because some things are that simple, but the strongholds aren't. And you've opened a door into your life, just like your house. Just think of your heart and your mind like your life, or like your house. You open a door in your house to invite people in. You give them permission to come in, right? If you open a window in your house and you don't have any screens on the window, don't be surprised that predators will get in. Raccoons and birds and dogs and cats and snakes and all sorts of stuff. Why? Because you, by opening that door, have given them permission to be there. Question. What have you given permission to be in your life? It's a good question to ask. Because it's not going to get out until you tell it that it no longer has permission. It won't. It'll just stay there because you've allowed it to be there. And you can get prayed for all you want, but you open the door. It's your life. You have to close it. And until you close it, you'll never be delivered. It'll always be there. It's like a squatter. That's what it is. Just found a place. There's a place I can sleep here, a place I can eat. The guy calls me every couple of months, tells me to get out. It's not my place, but who's he? The door's here. He's actually left me the key. I've got the remote. Man, I'm staying as long as I can.